You know, we all talk about free time, right? But have you ever actually stopped and thought about where that whole idea came from? Well, today, we're diving into how our modern concept of leisure was pretty much invented in Barcelona around the year 1900. It was a city just buzzing with change, new factories, new money, and some really radical new ideas about how to spend our time when we're not on the clock. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to unpack the invention of free time itself. Then, we'll see how Barcelona became this incredible stage for fun. After that, we'll explore the brand new world of private hobbies, check out how fashion became a big public statement, and finally, we'll look at the darker side of this new pursuit of pleasure. All right, first up, the invention of free time. We're talking about a journey from what was considered a sin to a public spectacle. It sounds a little weird to us now, but for most of human history, the idea that everyday people should have time off just for fun, well, that wasn't just missing, it was often seen as dangerous. This was a truly revolutionary idea. I mean, think about it for a second. Before our phones, before TV, before all our endless modern distractions, what did people do? What happened when that factory whistle blew at the end of a long day? For the very first time in history, an entire population was asking that exact same question. And this is the core of it all, this brand new, really stark division of life. The Industrial Revolution basically chopped existence into two halves. You had work time, where you sold your labor to make money, and then you had free time. And this wasn't just about resting. It was a brand new idea, an empty space that was practically designed to be filled by spending the money you just earned. This really highlights the huge mental shift that had to happen. For centuries, the dominant religious view saw any kind of idleness not as a right, but as the root of all sin. Leisure was for the rich, for the aristocracy. But suddenly this new idea started to take hold, that everyone, including the working class, deserved time for fun. Leisure was finally getting a rebrand, becoming a kind of personal liberty. And this new right to have fun? It wasn't a private thing. Oh no, it spilled right out onto the streets. It turned the entire city into a kind of stage where your free time became a very, very public performance. You can actually see this social divide just by looking at a map of the city. On one hand, you had the Passeig de Gràcia. That was the elegant, exclusive spot for the wealthy. But the real energy, the real action, was on the Avenida del Paral·lel. This was the new, so-called democratic heart of entertainment, where different social classes all mixed together in this incredible, bustling frenzy. And wow, the options were just exploding. For the elite, yeah, there was the Grand Opera at the Liceo. But for everyone else, there were café concerts, lively Spanish operettas called zarzuelas, even choral societies that brought workers together through music. And soon, the amazing Palau de la Música would open its doors. Even something like visiting an art gallery was becoming a hot new way to spend your time. Just look at this cartoon from 1860. It's basically mourning the death of fine arts in Barcelona. But fast forward just a few decades, and the whole situation had flipped. New commercial galleries like the famous Sala Parés opened up, and just visiting exhibitions became a totally legitimate, popular hobby, a brand new way to spend a leisurely afternoon. Okay, but leisure wasn't just a public show. It was also becoming huge business, creating entire new industries that wormed their way right into people's homes. This is where we get to the new world of hobbies. Get this number, 39. That's how many specialized toy factories were up and running in Barcelona by 1900. Childhood itself was becoming a commodity, turning the city into what one journalist actually called the city of toys. And this toy right here is a perfect example. It's a tiny, perfect replica of the new electric trams that were a huge symbol of Barcelona's modernity. The city's own transformation was being mirrored in the toys kids were playing with, connecting the real world of progress with the fantasy world of the playroom. At the very same time, a whole other obsession was sweeping the nation, collecting chromos. These were colorful little picture cards. You can think of it as the 1900s version of Pokemon or baseball cards, a super powerful new form of advertising that was cleverly disguised as a hobby. And these weren't just simple little cards either. No, they were beautifully illustrated, sometimes by well-known artists, and you got them for free with other products, especially bars of chocolate. They'd tell adventure stories in a series or show famous historical events. It was an absolutely genius marketing move that created fierce brand loyalty and got people buying things on a scale nobody had ever seen before. Of course, leisure wasn't just about what you did.
It was about how you looked while you were doing it. And that brings us to the look of leisure, and how fashion became a form of what we call conspicuous consumption.
Take a look at this photo. This is Teresa Amatiller, the daughter of that famous chocolatier. She's all dressed up for a carnival ball back in 1898. This incredible, extravagant gown was probably designed and made for her to wear just once, for a single evening. It's the ultimate display of wealth and status, a disposable luxury that was only possible because of a hidden world of hard work.
But behind all that glamour was a much darker reality. This quote here really captures the brutal life of the seamstresses, the workers of the needle. These were often really young women from poor families, working insane hours in terrible conditions to create the very clothes that symbolized the life of ease they could only ever dream about.
And that stark contrast between the glamour and the grind, well, that reveals the price of paradise. This new world of leisure, with all its frantic pressure and this constant chase for the next big sensation, had a dark and often tragic underside.
Just listen to this haunting quote from the artist Santiago Rusiñol, who battled addiction himself. He personifies morphine perfectly, this seductive but ultimately destructive force. It was seen by some as a key to an artificial paradise, a way to escape the anxieties of this new modern world.
And morphinomania, as they called it back then, was a surprisingly widespread thing. It wasn't just for a few decadent artists, it cut across every social class. For some people, the nonstop pursuit of new sensations and the pressures of modern life just led them down this dark path of addiction, a desperate search for a chemical escape. And this social crisis was confronted head-on by the artists of the day. Painters like Rusiñol and Anglada Camarasa did not shy away. They created these shocking, provocative paintings that showed the grim reality of addiction, from the ecstatic highs to the agonizing lows, making this hidden suffering a very public subject for art. So the world of 1900 Barcelona really did invent so much of our modern life. The 9-to-5, consumer culture, the whole concept of free time. Which kind of leaves us with one last question to think about. Over a century later, in our own world of endless digital distractions and being constantly connected, have we actually mastered our leisure? Or has it, in new and maybe more complicated ways, completely mastered us?